welcome to my channel. My name is Linda. I have some fun crafts for you today. So what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Today we'll be working on some Rustic Farmhouse home decor crafts with a floral theme. Let's get started with project number 1 and dupe something. So this came from Antique Farmhouse. This is just part 1 of it. We're going to make this basket. So I picked this up at Dollar Tree, a $3 basket, because it was kind of a nice tall one. I just want to do the outside, not the bottom of it. And I want to do it in reindeer moss. I had a couple packages, wasn't sure how many I needed, so I picked up a few more. But I ended up really only needing about 3.5 packages. Again, around the sides, not the bottom. If you don't have the reindeer moss, you could use this moss. It would work. And then I have this from one of those grapevine wreaths I had torn apart a long time ago, but you could use this from Dollar Tree because the leaves come off really easy because they had some sort of outer thing around the edge. And I only used 3.5 packages, or I can't say only 3.5 packages, because one of the packages, I needed just a tiny bit more and they weren't big enough pieces, so I had to open another package to take out some bigger chunks, but you could certainly make like 3 packages work. And as you can see, I'm just using Beacon Fabri-Tac glue, and then I make sure I smooth it all on the basket. I'm just going to do it in chunks, and then just take big pieces of like this reindeer moss and fill in those places that I glued, and then I'll leave the little pieces for later to fill in the missing spots. But yeah, 3 packages worked pretty good, but like I said, I needed another half package just for a couple more bigger pieces. All right, really easy to cover. I'll do a little bit more here. I don't do the bottom because I want it to, it needs stability. We don't want moss to make it rocking. And the basket, the picture I showed you at the beginning of Antique Farmhouse, the small size, which is smaller than what I'm using here, was $39. I ended up putting florals in it, but it didn't come that way from Antique Farmhouse. Underneath the Antique Farmhouse was pictures of, different, ways you could look at the basket. And it had one with some flowers in it to show you how you could decorate the basket. All right. So that's why I end up duping the decorative suggestion they give you as the next part of this. So anyway, here I am still adding the moss, nice and easy. I just wanted to show you a nice big thing of that. Don't worry, I won't do it all on camera. But the key here is I think you would want a wet glue versus hot glue so that you could really smear it really good so that it gets as much of the moss as possible glued on there, because otherwise you're going to have these big gaps where the moss doesn't glue very well if you just use hot glue. But you can try it. I don't know. That's just my thought on the subject. I could be totally wrong, so forgive me if I am. Filling in the last little bit here, and then I decided I want to go up over the top a little bit. That looks yucky. So I'm going to come here, just show a little bit, and just cover that top ridge of the basket. I'm not worried about the inside because that is all going to get covered up because I will use more moss. And then I come through and I just kind of pick up the moss with my fingernail along all the basket, and anything that doesn't feel like it's glued down, I just go in and add some glue and kind of glue it back down. All right, so here's what it all looks like. Looking pretty decent. It's a little bit more vibrant green than the picture, but I'm okay with that. And here's my little thing. We're going to put this on. Again, this came off of a grapevine wreath I had cut apart, and I just saved the big piece. And you can see that I'm wrapping it around. I don't even need to glue it, but I do. Now, it is a little bit short. The back side is just like has about 6 inches where it's just like one strand wrapped, but I don't care about that. But I do go ahead and just glue a little bit more and glue those edges in just in case, but the moss really pretty much holds it together. So a bunch of flowers from Dollar Tree, Joann's, Walmart even. Here's what I got. This came from Walmart. I love it. I bought 2 of them. It's actually a cherry blossom stem. They run about $6, a little bit expensive, but I cut it up and used it on several projects. Then these hydrangeas from Dollar Tree. I'm going to use 2 of those. So here's another one of that. And then these from Dollar Tree as well. These are just wildflowers. And then these are freesia from Dollar Tree. I'm just going to go ahead and show you. These are mini hydrangeas. Ours just got these in. Yours may have had them a long time, but they are so cute. They're little mini clumps of hydrangeas that I went and got more colors I thought I'd like to use. I mean, literally just a couple weeks ago got them in. And mini roses. And these section of little mini flowers are the best looking I've ever seen. Like, I think they could have came from Hobby Lobby. I don't usually like a lot of Dollar Tree floral products, but they've been coming out with them a little bit better. Anyway, gonna use some peonies again from Dollar Tree, and then I'm gonna bring in some greenery. Oh, these roses from Joann's, because I wanted just a little bit of pale pink. And I usually don't like the greenery because they're too plastic looking, but these eucalyptus look pretty darn real. These don't look bad, the hanging eucalyptus. Now this foxtail I'm going to bring up looks a little plasticky, but I'm going to use a little bit of it in there just to kind of bring out a little bit. I'm not going to use the poofy things on top. I don't like those, but just a little bit of this ferny looking stuff. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to add in some foam from Dollar Tree and fill it in so we can add our flowers. Now, I always say I'm not a professional flower maker, but when you see the picture at the end, I duped it pretty good. So, hey, now I think I'm professional. I'm a professional duper. Anyway, I start off with those beautiful cherry blossoms from Walmart, and then I'm just going to start adding in the peonies around. Yeah, I wanted this mostly white with just that little mix of pink that came in from the Joann flowers and those mini hydrangeas from Dollar Tree. Right? And so I'm just going to, prep a little bit by cutting some of the flowers here. But I love how this turned out. I may have duped it, but I love how it turned out. The hydrangeas, I want them to stay kind of hooked together. So I'm going to do zip ties around both of them, add a little glue so the zip tie doesn't quite like move around there. And then I'm just going to put them together in clumps just for a space filler. Add in the little bit of our, little bit of our pale pink's the word I was trying to think of, our little bit of pale pink. I think these are pretty. You could get any pale pink flowers at Hobby Lobby or Dollar Tree. Just because Joann's isn't here anymore, we can buy pale pink somewhere else. And then I wanted to let these flowers just kind of hang off the end. That's what they're meant to be, right? So I kind of like stick up through the middle and through the right side kind of come up and down a little bit, but through the left side really kind of hanging off the end. All right, here comes my next clump of hydrangeas here. And I think they look better clumped up because the regular hydrangeas aren't the best, so trying to put them in there mini I don't think would work as well, but clumped up looks great. Adding some of these leaves in that came from the Walmart stem. Adding some of our wildflowers in here. I'm still here, just giving you a break from my voice. I realize I haven't said anything in 10 seconds. Adding some of the mini, hydrangeas in. Yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with all the other colors of the little mini hydrangeas and roses, but I had to get some. I had to get some. They're just pretty. Okay, and then adding some of that foxtail in just a little bit. I think just a couple here and there. I think I add 3 because things look good in odd numbers. But just a couple doesn't look too plasticky. It just gives a little bit of different color variation. And then adding in the eucalyptus I like because they kind of stand straight up a little bit. And then the hanging eucalyptus comes down. I wasn't sure if I was going to quite use all of it, and I actually kind of did. Now, I know we've been looking a lot from the top view, but I'll show you a little clip from the front, and then we'll take a look at the comparison. Now, when you look at the comparison, mine is a lot brighter, of course, the photo and the lighting, so you have to take that in consideration. But I don't think it's half bad. All right, so here comes comparison. I showed the pot, which is only what you get, and then they showed their suggestive with the floral in it, and then, of course, mine to the left. That makes this project complete, but I don't know. What do you think? Let's move on with project number 2. Nope, not a dupe. For this project, I have a lot of cutting boards here, but I'm going to work with this rectangular one that was $4 that I got at a thrift store. But what I want to do is I want to cut like an oval handle in it. So the first thing I need to do to make this handle is I've got to drill an access hole. Then off camera, we fed the blade through the hole. Here I am cutting a little bit, and then it's going to switch to my husband's hands cutting a little bit because neither of us had worked with a scroll saw in quite a long time, and we're both like, hey, I want to try it out. So I just filmed a little bit of both of us cutting it so you can see that we did the process. I didn't pay somebody else to do it. And now we'll move on to the next step. However, in this next step, I thought I had filmed painting it. Apparently, it wasn't recording. All I did was use Dixie Belle chalk paint and the color drop cloth painted down the center, and then with a hand sander just distressed the center of that a little bit. Now I want to add a transfer, and I had a gift card to a store online, scrapbook.com, and I ordered some transfers, and this one that I wanted to use, apparently I didn't realize it's not a rub-on transfer. It just says transfer me, and on the back there are some instructions, but I thought it was just, you know, instructions showing you how to rub it on. No, if you really look at it closer, it's instructions how to put the decal on like it's one of those water slide transfers. You have to wet it so the backing slides off. So not really happy about that, but we're going to make it work, because when you use these type of transfers, unless you cover your whole surface, which I don't want to do, I just kind of want it along one edge, you're going to see the edges. So we're going to have to do a little bit more work to it in order to kind of hide it. I think it works pretty decent, but not real happy with it. We'll see what you guys think. So in order to use these, there's a little, you know, transfer sheet on top you need to peel off. The design itself is sticky. You don't want to touch that. You're going to get fingerprints on it. And then I just flip it over, and I'm going to roll it on so that I know that it's stuck on there very well. Okay? It's a beautiful, vibrant transfer, but I just don't like the edges. So what you need to do, it says to like wet a sponge and put it on there, but I'm not patient. So you can see I'm just using a spray bottle. And once you start to see the image kind of be transparent through that backing sheet, the whole image of it, you know, I'll use my sponge a little bit, but then you can start to see if it's going to slide. Not quite sliding yet, a little bit more water, a little bit of sponging. This here is just the backing. It's not the transfer. That's laying down. The backing bubbled up. But then see, you can see it starting to slide. That means it's ready. So you can either slide it off, or I'm just going to pick it up by the edge here and peel it off. And you can see how beautiful and vibrant it is. But over to the left, we have those edges, which drives me nuts. But I want to work with it. I want to see if I can hide it enough. It just means we have to put a little bit more effort into it, right? I know. And then plus these are like glossy images, and I usually like things more matte and farmhouse, but that's okay. I decided I wanted to cut out one more rose, even though I don't like these type of transfers. If I'm doing a halvesy design like this, I wanted to cut out one more rose and a little bit more of the script in the background, and kind of, you know, make it come over to that left side just a little bit. So I'm working with the script here, okay, and then I'm going to put the flower on over the top of it, because I did want to see how it layers, and it layers really well, even though, you know, it's kind of, the transfer underneath is wet that I put on, and I put one over the top. It's still layered good because of the stickiness of that transfer. So I'm just kind of making sure that's ready to slide, and then I'll just peel it up. All right, so nail polish remover, only because I had to look this up, make sure it's acetone, and then you can come in and kind of erase your edges a little bit with the nail polish remover. And then I'm coming in with my little hand sander here, and I'm distressing around the edges just a little bit more to further kind of, you know, dissolve those. Not over the top of the transfer. That's not going to work because of whatever that glossy stuff is made of, trust me. Now I'm taking some, again, the Dixie Belle chalk paint, a dry paintbrush, and I'm just dry brushing over the edges of the transfer, and then I will actually dry brush over the top of it, just again trying to get everything to melt in. I'm not exactly sure if this works or not. Certain angles you can, you know, see that it's hidden. Other angles you can sort of see it. I'm not sure. You guys are just going to have to let me know what you think of this. Maybe it just needs to be, I need to just take this whole thing off and start all over again. I have ordered actual rub-on transfers that are coming in the mail. I don't mind redoing. Anywho, let me know. Then once this is complete, I'm going to come in and do a little bit more sanding. I've added some paint along the edges, as you can see where I'm sanding now, up at the top. Just really trying to get that rustic look in here. But yeah, I probably maybe shouldn't even put this project in, because normally if something's yucky, I mean, I don't put it in. I'm just like, you guys aren't going to see it. But I wanted your opinion on if I did enough to make this work, or if I just need to, again, like I said, just start from scratch. So I'm going to keep sanding, and then of course I'm going to bring in black paint mixed with water once I'm done sanding, add some splatters to try and ground it all together, right? And then I will take it outside off camera, and I do two types of clear coat. All right, I do a semi-gloss because I thought if any of the glossy of the transfer, you can still see it a little bit. If I semi-gloss it, a couple of thin coats, and then the wood will get a little bit of that gloss to kind of tie it together, but then I don't want it to stay semi-gloss, so I bring in a matte clear coat, all right? And then I leave it alone. I walk past it a couple days, and then I come back. I'm like, I still need something else. So off camera, I end up ripping a strip of fabric, and I tie like a cute little bow through the handle. That makes this project complete. You'll see the results at the end of the video. Let's move into our last project, number 3, and let's dupe something one more time. This is what I'm going to dupe. I can't remember where I found it, but I love just the beautiful, elegant, just simplicity of it. So I've got this bowl I picked up at a thrift shop for like $1. I've got a base from Dollar Tree, which was $1.25, and then I picked up this furniture foot at Habitat for Humanity for $1, and I'm going to kind of cut it off camera at that point, and then I'm going to spray paint it all off camera with just this flat black spray paint. So here everything is all painted. I was able, or my husband was able, to get that one point off. I do have some touch up on the bowl, but I'm not concerned about that now. I'm going to wait till after I get it glued together, you know, just in case I need to touch up around where I glued and stuff. I'm going to use quick hold glue, which is a sister, or as one of you pointed out, a brother to E6000 glue. Takes 10 minutes to get a good hold to mess with it, and then 24 hours to really cure. So I've got it to the bottom base. It sat about 10 minutes. Now I'm adding glue, and I'm going to get it to the top of the bowl. I'll set something really heavy on top and just let it set up. Take it outside. Now it's all spray painted really beautiful. And then I took some matte clear coat spray and I put a couple of coats of spray on it, showing you that right here because I, don't want it to chip. Now this might look funny, but I'm taking paper towel and covering the bottom and the sides a little bit to make a little liner, because I'm going to use some of those white rocks from Dollar Tree, and they're like really powdery. And, in case I wanted to take all this out and use the bowl for something else, I don't know. I wanted to protect it a little bit, even though I clear coated as well. Now, for the top, I thought I had a Dollar Tree vase. Nope. So I stole this temporarily from a clock my husband had. I'll insert a picture here to the left in a minute. I actually kind of like it. I've seen them at thrift stores, and so I might look for one. Of course, now that I'm going to look for one, I probably won't find one, but I love actually how it is rounded at the bottom. It kind of goes in with the roundedness of the bowl, but if not, I will just, go get something from Dollar Tree or something else. Anyway, since it's rounded, it wobbles. We will make it stable, don't worry. So I think I used 2 bags of the Dollar Tree rocks. I'm going to fill it in the bottom first, all right? And then I'll, of course, make a hole in the middle, all right? Because when I go to actually use a normal vase, what I'll probably do, either glue it to the bottom or use like a double-sided sticky foam tape, along the bottom to make sure it sits in the bowl really good. But for now, I'm just going to use some sand and then squish this down in it so it sets up nice and stable and it worked. And of course, I'm going to add some rocks to the inside of it, just like the original picture. Well, actually, I don't know if the original, did it have rocks in it? I don't remember now. Anyway, I'm adding rocks to the inside of it. And then I'll put, more rocks around the outside to make sure I cover up all that sand and everything. And during the middle of like the rocks, it's really cute. I'll show you here in a minute. I found this cute little heart-shaped rock. So, I had to show you. It was super cute. Anyway, just a fun for you. Here it is. Heart-shaped. Isn't that cute? So we'll lay it in there when we're done. Right here. Heart. Okay, now I'm taking, it's not on a handle because I actually have these for a craft at Christmas, but those, thingies you could use to wipe all the dust of the rock off the inside of the glass. And then I'm bringing in my cherry blossom stem like we used in the first project, and I just cut a couple pieces. I don't want to add a candle. That's how I'm going to lindify it. Tuck this right in it. I think it's just as beautiful. Let's take a look at the comparison pic. Here we go. One on the right with the candle, which I think is pretty. Yeah, it does look like there's rocks in it. Either that or it's just a cylinder with no bottom, which is probably what it is. Here's mine on the left. That makes this project complete. What do you think? So I hope you enjoyed all of these projects today, a couple of them dupes and one of them not. Let me know what you think, which one is your favorite, and please let me know what you think of the cutting board, whether I could leave it, like would you buy it if you saw it, or should I just like take the whole freaking thing off and start over with the regular rub-on? I need to know, because my inner me's like, take it off, start over. So yeah, I need a second, third, fourth, 20th opinion on that one. Again, leave me a comment down below. Let me know which project was your favorite. Let me know about the cutting board. And here's the important thing. Please give this video a thumbs up and share it if you'd like, because it really helps my channel to grow. Now, if you walked in here for the first time, you're just checking things out, you're digging what you saw, make sure before you click off, you hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you don't miss out on another project from me. Now, before I go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought. Jesus doesn't focus on our failures. Let's look at the Apostle Peter on this. Jesus told him that he would deny him before the rooster crowed 3 times. Peter didn't believe it. Yet when it happened during Jesus' arrest and trial, after the rooster crowed 3 times, Peter instantly knew what he had done. He felt the shame and wept bitterly, but here's the thing. Jesus didn't condemn Peter. Jesus did not walk away from Peter. In fact, he did the opposite. He extended his grace to Peter. He returned to Peter after his resurrection, asked Peter 3 times if he loved him. Now, Jesus knew that Peter loved him, but I think he asked him this so that one, and maybe this is my personal opinion, that Peter could kind of release his guilt. But the other 2 occasions, I think he did it so that, Jesus could, again extend his grace and forgiveness to Peter, and Peter would accept it. And every time after he asked Peter if he loved him, he would tell him to feed his sheep, take care of his sheep, because he was confirming the responsibilities that Peter was going to have after Jesus was gone. Actually, in the book of Matthew, chapter 16, verse 18, Jesus made a significant promise to Peter, and I think maybe Peter forgot about this. I did until I read it and looked it up again. He said, "You are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of hell shall not prevail against it." So if Peter was the person to build his church, Jesus loved him. He's not going to deny him, right? He's not going to throw him away. Just like with us, Jesus does not deny us. He doesn't throw us away. He doesn't focus on our failures. He loves us, right? So I believe that even though Peter had made a mistake, Jesus knew all along he wasn't done with Peter. So from his grace, Peter was restored to his place among the apostles. He was strengthened by Jesus' love and forgiveness, and he became a prominent leader in the church. Now, there are consequences of Peter's denial. There are always consequences to things we do wrong, but thankfully, Jesus' grace forgives us, and here we are, 2,000 years later, still reading about Peter's actions today. This story helps us to understand that when Peter failed, he experienced God's grace, and that same grace is alive today for us. Peter's actions did not get erased from God's word. Peter may have failed, but he's never a failure. And just like Peter, we may fail, but we are not failures. God's grace will see us through. He will not abandon us or give up on us. In fact, in 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 10, Peter writes this, "And after you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you." I think this verse came directly out of what Peter had went through. It came as a result of his actions and Jesus' reaction to what happened. I believe that this verse is here for us to understand and realize that when we truly love Jesus, no setback, no failure can ever separate us from his love. It will take a little while, right? What did Peter say? After you have suffered a little while, the God of all grace, who has called you to his eternal glory in Christ, will himself restore, confirm, strengthen, and establish you. God will always remain faithful, and His grace will always build us up and strengthen us, no matter what. I thank you for sharing your time with me, and I'll talk with you again soon. Bye.